and welcome to this Karnataka election special. Now, home to more than 15,000 startups, it's not for no reason that Karnataka's capital is known as the country startup capital. And for the state to achieve its mission or objective of becoming a $1 trillion economy, this community is going to play a very critical role. So today, ahead of the state going to polls on the 10th of May, I have with me a group of people that are responsible for getting this city the tag of the startup capital of India to understand what this community wants from the state government ahead of the assembly elections. I have with me a very diverse panel representing various sectors of the startup community, starting with Abhimanyu Saxena, the co-founder of Scalar and InterviewBit. I also have with me Anurag Jain, who's the co-founder and ED at Credix from the Fintech space. We also have Pankaj Sharma, the co-founder and MD of Log9 Materials from the EV space. And representing the Agritechs today, we have Kunal Prasad, who's the co-founder and COO of Croppen. Gentlemen, thank you for your time here on CNBC-TV18 and coming here all the way, especially you, Kunal, coming at 9 a.m. to beat the traffic of Karnataka. Let me start with you, actually. You know, we can't talk about this city without talking about the traffic. And it's, you know, all the tech in this city is not able to solve that issue, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the problem. I was in Electronic City, which is the southern part of Karnataka, and to come over here, I was planning, should I start 2 hours before or should it be 1 hour before, and took the right time so that, no, I beat the traffic. And actually, the traffic scales up. Like, when you have like odd hours, you can actually reach a destination in an hour, but if it goes to the peak hours, it takes almost double the time, right? So I think that situation is a big challenge in Karnataka, and hopefully with the infrastructure development, metros all coming up, we want to see that happen as soon as possible, and I think that will be a great boon for the people living over here.
Well, while we're waiting for that to happen, Abhimanyu, you're one of the companies that has actually shifted based from Pune to Bangalore. How has the experience been? I mean, is the traffic getting to you? Is it affecting your productivity?
Right. So for us, probably yes, traffic. I would have loved if it was little less. We could have been maybe 5, 10, 20% more productive. But at the same time, lately COVID did impact a lot of work from home, hybrid work, along with, you know, combination of figuring out the right time to come to the office and leave. With all those combinations, I think I wouldn't complain. I think overall it was great for us to move to Bangalore overall. But yes, of course, if traffic was lesser, it would have been much better.
Anurag, it's been a tough season for startups, right? I mean, funding winter and the floods here. So, you know, all round, what would you say are some of the largest issues, you know, that you want the state government to look at? And I'm talking outside of policies that affect your sector, to make it a more conducive environment for startups to thrive.
I think, you know, there's a very big element of focus that I see is missing in terms of the overall growth of the infrastructure and, you know, the city's growth in general. And I can give an analogy wherein, you know, you look at a company which is being run by a CEO, right? So we need a CEO for Karnataka or for Bangalore.
We have a chief minister.
Yeah, but I think, you know, when a CEO runs it, keeping all the departments in mind, I think that is where there is an overall growth of the city that, you know, we are able to see. And I don't see most of these issues, you know, and they're all solvable. I mean, it's not that they cannot be solved. It's just that there needs to be a focus around each one of them, whether it is to do with road traffic, whether it is to do with you know, monsoon issues that come in, and all of these just need focus. And there have been areas where once the infrastructure has come in, and Bengaluru is the right example maybe, and it was a hell when you used to pass that area. But today you can just breeze through that area. So I think some of the issues can be solved. It's just that we need more focus from somebody who's looking at it day and night.
We need a CEO-like approach to resolving the issues of Bangalore. But Pankaj, why always Bangalore? You know, startup capital of the country, sure. But a lot of the issues that we're talking about, infrastructure related, is because of the concentration of the industry here. Now, the government's focus has also been to look at beyond Bangalore, look at cities like Mysore, Mangalore, Belgavi, Dharwad, so on and so forth. What do you think are some of the right set of policies that will make these cities more livable, more conducive for the startup ecosystem?
I think the question really is, why are we all here? Definitely not for the immersive cooling of 25 degrees.
Not anymore, not right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep the global warming in check, and I think that should be one of the areas where startups should be encouraged in this part of the world. But if you look at it fundamentally, what is Bangalore doing right?
Yeah.
Why are we all here?
Yeah.
And how do you take that playbook
And
then
emulate
spread it across to other places? And I think it all starts with, the reason all of us are here is because this is where the talent is. And founders go where the talent is. We set our companies and make our employees and team members more comfortable. So we have to see what will it take for talent to sit in these other cities. What kind of healthcare, what kind of education system do we have over there? What kind of startups and working opportunities are there? And how these micro cities which are connected to the big city like Bangalore are integrated to Bangalore. Are you on a shuttle which is an hour away? Or it takes you 5 hours to go back and forth?
Or a 90-hour expressway now between Mysore and Bangalore, solving some of the issues.
Start the bullet trains like, shuttle between these smaller towns and these big cities, and you start to integrate and take the culture, the fragrance of Bangalore culture, all the way to 300 kilometers.
All right, so we'll see how that progresses. But Kunal, let me come to you. If I look at the election manifestos and for the agriculture sector, we're not hearing of ways to increase farm productivity, farmers' incomes. What we're hearing is farm loan waivers and promises of that for parties to come into power. What do you make of some of these promises? How do they affect the ecosystem? Even if that were to be implemented, we know it's bad for credit culture.
So I think from our perspective, farm loan waivers is one perspective, but the other thing is the farmers need access to capital is one of the fundamental things which is required. And capital from the start, from the time they plan the crop till the time they harvest it, capital is required at every single point in time. I think the government should really think about, from one of the aspects, how do you bring effective financing from the public side as well as the private sector participation, and make it in such a way that the risk of agriculture is distributed across the value chain, from the farmer side, which is producing, to the value chain, financial institutions or insurance companies just coming and insuring this particular crop, to the market players which are coming and interacting with that particular ecosystem. So I think it has to be an integrated approach, and technology could be a sure shot enabler in terms of helping that transform.
You say technology can be an enabler, and it surely can be, and we do have the largest number of startups in the country right here in Karnataka. Why is it then, when you look at the state's GDP growth, the share of agriculture is only declining? It hasn't grown at all. What are some of the tech and policy interventions that could help resolve this, to your mind?
I think one of the important things is how do you really transform the farming ecosystem over here in the state to make it world class, and we have to build in value chain ecosystems from the focus crops that we are looking at. For example, the millet mission which the government is focusing for this current year should be a longer term perspective. How do you because millets is a crop which was naturally grown in Karnataka, how do you make that as a mission mode? How do you take the high value agriculture, for example, coffee or say pomegranates, into international markets and make it in such a way that you are making it more market driven? That the government should be focusing on promoting the agriculture in Karnataka to the global ecosystem, so that you can export to the Europe, to the Middle East and other markets, so that you can have much larger value coming from the ecosystem. And once you have the market, then you can have the entire system integrated, from the supply chain to the processing, packaging, and then the production system, and make it in such a manner that your crops are actually compliant to the global standards. With those things coming in picture with a market-driven approach, I think the government can really help them in terms of increasing the per capita income of the farmers and make it much more holistic.
All right, we take that point on board. You spoke about the credit availability as well earlier, so let me come to the lender here. Anurag, for the fintech sector, what are the biggest issues as far as state-level policies are concerned? What can be done to increase the share of fintech in the market for Karnataka as a whole in India, which is a large market for fintechs?
Right. So I think the needs of a fintech sector, is very different from the needs of the other sectors. And the reason why I say this is because, while it might seem counterintuitive, money is not the biggest challenge. I think a bigger challenge is to make or facilitate policy and regulatory guidance, right? To be able to have a committee, and which is where I suggest maybe creating a fintech task force. Right.
Which was set up, which has been set up, we had Razorpay, we had Zerodha, etc., representing that, and of course some of the suggestions that have come out.
I think that is where we need more, people from the regulatory and the government side to, maybe take interest in it, because I think some of these things don't move without those, pillars in place.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of startups keep coming and asking about, how to navigate the current challenges, whether it is to do with in terms of the licenses, in terms of the regulatory environment, how to navigate them, how to ensure that they are able to sail through some of those issues.
But are these more regulatory level interventions, or are these policy level interventions that the state would help
a bit
with?
of both.
Yeah.
And if they don't have a direction, who to reach out, what to do, and what is the best case scenario, they struggle to move forward. And while it might again seem very, very ironical, there are companies who have been able to raise money but are not able to progress in the fintech sector, because I think the bigger element in a fintech space is the financial product, and then you enable it using technology. So if the core fin product is not in place, I think you'll struggle
with the tech?
overall. Yeah. So having a set of people who can handhold some of these startups to get to the next level and be able to give access to some of these central government authorities, regulators, and the government bodies, and give them a direction that will help them.
So more guidance, and you're saying a fintech task force which is more inclusive with various stakeholders, not just one part of the industry. Karnataka's industrial policy 2020 to 2025, that lays a lot of emphasis on the fintech sector.
Yes.
And you have the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission, which stated that, again, speaking about beyond Bangalore, for Bangalore to be a hub for fintechs to come, take the incentives that the state is providing there to set up base there. Yep. What do you think it'll take, as some of the other panelists were also talking about, for the fintechs to view that as a feasible option to be based there and not just here in Bangalore?
I think the sandboxing has to be done in some of these important centers, and then it can be, it is portable to other locations, right? But I think to be able to nurture it in the beginning for a couple of years and then be able to port it to some of the other locations, that would be the right approach. Because the kind of people, the kind of, the support you need from an advisory perspective might not be available in all these, remote centers.
Okay.
So you nurture it in some of these bigger cities and then port it to these locations, because ultimately it's a digital setup, digital economy, right? So as a company, we operate in 268 cities in India, right? But we are physically located in 3 locations, right?
Yeah.
So what that means is that 3 metros, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what that means is it is portable. People can take advantage of it, but I think the nurturing or the sandboxing has to be done at the right place.
All right, so perhaps room for more innovation as well. Abhimanyu, let me come to you, because it's not just the state of Karnataka. Unemployment is a huge problem countrywide. I just wanted to understand in terms of the policies that Karnataka state government has put in place. What they've introduced is a one district, one skill program. The government has talked about AI-based skill portals. It has also talked about a youth policy which focuses very much on getting employment for the younger generation. I just wanted to understand from you, where are the gaps in the policy and the implementation that need to be filled to address this, which is one of the largest issues, even in these elections?
Higher education regulations have been very highly outdated. Today, if someone wants to set up an engineering college, the most important restriction for that is how much land do you have, not how many industry professionals you have teaching in your college. Now, another restriction might be that, let's say, a certain percentage of your instructors in the college, engineering college, have to be PhD or MTech holders. Not how many of them have worked in the industry who can train people to create talent. We were just recently talking about the shortage of talent being a bottleneck of the industry.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting dichotomy that Karnataka alone has huge number of startups, is producing more than 100,000 engineering graduates every year. Yeah. But all the founders in Bangalore are worried about where do I get the talent.
They're going outside of Karnataka to find talent.
A lot of them. So I think creation of skill universities, rehauling a lot of regulations related to higher education, putting more requirements on training people for the real industry, what is happening in the industry today, what employers are looking for, and easing a lot of restrictions which might have been, a century old. I think that is need of the hour.
Where are the gaps that the state government can fill in, and what are the collaboration opportunities with techies like you?
Right. No, so fundamentally, we would love to set up a university if we are allowed to. The issue is we are not allowed to. The government would ask that you have to go and buy 100-acre land if you want to set up a university, and I don't want to do that. We are probably creating employment for 40,000 people in a year without any land. And one of the restriction now is, I can talk about very simple policy issues. If a student want to come and study at Scalar, they cannot get education loans.
Why?
But they will get education loan to go to a university which is not preparing them for the jobs, right? Now, that is one big issue. Affordability of industry-first education is an issue, which could be solved through a policy intervention. The Karnataka state government can say that there are low-cost educational loan, subsidized educational loans available to do the skill-first courses. We have to pay GST, for example. All the edtechs have to pay GST, even if they are creating massive amount of employment. Now, but traditionally in our country, educational institutes are not supposed to pay employment, right? Now, that policy probably need to be extended to at least few institutions which are creating employability. Similarly, like another factor is that having a degree is a must. We get so many students who might say that, is it okay if I do not do a traditional degree? I study with you, you may get me a job, and that is what I'm looking for. But they have to anyway go and enroll in the industry and spend additional there. If there is a way to, provide recognized certifications, even by the educational platforms, I think all of these issues could be solved through policy interventions.
Okay, on that note, hold your thoughts. We have to take a break, but don't go anywhere. We're back in just a moment.